Hello, everybody. I'd like to introduce you to Kristian Puggaard from Tembi. Thanks for joining us today, Kristian.
Thank you for the opportunity. It's a pleasure.
Good, nice to meet you. Please tell us about your business, what it does, and where it fits in the supply chain cycle.
Yeah, so we are agentic market intelligence for e-commerce, meaning that we're really good at reading and analyzing and understanding millions of online retailers and hundreds of millions, actually it's more than 500 million products, and understand how are those actually being shipped, who are the leading providers in the last mile space, but also other parts in logistic chain. But you can say that last mile is our core. Who's shipping them? What's the pricing? The delivering range, the delivery types, the delivery time. But also when you're looking at the checkout as a consumer, who's number 1, 2, 3. So you can actually use this to understand your position in this market if you are in last mile. And you can also use it to grow your business as long as you can, with new customers that are the ideal customers for you, because you would know, David, that not every customer that ship a good is ideal for every logistics at the same time. They have also different products on the shelves. And then towards the end, also to understand and develop, you can say the customers when they're on board, how to actually optimize being in the checkout so you get the right customers, the right shipments, and the most of the parcel volumes as well. That is what we're really good at.
No, great. Thanks for summarizing it. And I'm sure our listeners and viewers will have a look at your business afterwards. What brought you into the lovely logistics sector originally?
Yeah, it was because we were actually doing something else. We're a kind of new company, 3 years in the business. I had a consulting company before, and one day, before bringing into the logistics, there was a person from a real estate company called Skanska. It's a big Swedish one, 50,000 employees, that asked me, "Hey, Kristian, can you predict which company is going to move or not?" Then say, "Hey, let's try it out." And we did try it out. And then, we say, hey, there's something about understanding the life cycles of companies that other companies that, work with these companies want to know about. So we tried calling different segments in a structured way. And one day there was a person from the last mile industry that asked me, "Kristian, can you tell me who's in the checkout of a web shop?" I said, "Don't know. Let's see if we can do that." And we actually solved the problem. And we started, engaging with last mile companies as well. And immediately when we called them and said, "Hey, we can tell you who's in the checkout, who's number 1, 2, 3. And then they said, "We want to meet you guys, and we want to get on board with this product," even though it was very immature at that point. We just got the first customers on board, and then it grew from there.
No, thank you. Appreciate that. And obviously, your business is relatively new, so about 3 years. So tell us how you see your business and the sector you work in developing over the next few years.
Yeah, we see us as a provider of intelligence in the e-commerce supply chain, I would say. And this means that we're just in a small snippet of that supply chain right now with last mile. And we are expanding more towards the retailers, and we're also expanding more upstream in that supply chain, meaning cross-border, B2B shipments, warehousing and logistics, because we see some of our current customers ask us about that. Where's the 3PL and where's the warehouse located, or other kind of shipments that just B2C shipments, and who sends exports goods across Europe or in or out of Europe, for instance. So we see ourselves expanding over the next couple of years in this area, or also this year. And as I said, also towards retailers, because we read and analyze more than 500 million products across the 1 to 2 million web shops that we analyze currently. So we know what's available on the shelf, the brand, the size, the weight, the package, and of course that's also something that is interesting for the retailer, so they can understand how does this market develop over time. And we cover Europe now. We have a few countries we need to open to cover all of Europe. But this year we plan to stay in Europe and do what I just explained, and then we will expand from there. We have some interest from Asia and from North America as well. So I would assume depending on what's happening on the geopolitical situation that changes all the time, right? Then I would assume that would be maybe late this year or next year we will open up outside of Europe as well.
Oh, fantastic. And this sort of, you are a technology business, but how do the continual changes in technology affect your sector? Is it the way we consume it, information, the data? Is that what you need to be positioned for?
Yeah, I think it affects us in two different ways. One way is that the customers, they actually get used to using difficult analytics and data in many different ways due to that transition that everybody is seeing that started with that, at least became apparent for everyone with ChatGPT that accelerated that, when that was launched, the entire generative AI. So more and more organizations now, they are aware of that they need to be ahead in this game. So that's one thing from I would say, the demand side that is moving in the right direction. But at the same time, being one of those that provide this kind of intelligence and being a technology company that's been working with AI from the get-go and machine learning, we need to be on top of these possibilities as well. So it becomes easier for the end user to consume and use the insights that we have. And I think, that is an ongoing battle or war to be somehow ahead, because it is difficult, but there's also new opportunities because it makes it so much easier for us to develop new stuff that goes into the hands of the user. One of the things we basically want to solve is that we want to make it possible for every professional on the planet, no matter what. Now we just started in logistics, right? But no matter what, every professional on the planet to be able to see what's happening throughout the entire market and what will be happening in the future as well. So for us, it is a possibility to give users access to predictions and insights and data in an easily digestible way that they want to interact with and work with, that transform their life for the better. And I think the technology opens up for this possibility. We've developed new things in our platform that was very difficult to think about how to solve just a couple of years back.
Yeah, it's amazing how things are moving on for everyone, I think, and which will be successful and which won't be. What are people in your sector not talking about that perhaps they should be?
Yeah, if you see my sector, do you then mean the logistics or do you mean the tech space?
Well, either really, whatever you think.
Yeah, I think one of the things where the logistics is behind is understanding what are the possibilities with the agentic intelligence agents. We've been talking about agents for year and a half, 2 years, give or take. But just recently, that's been something that's apparent to more and more people what will happen. But in the logistics industry, and if we talk about last mile, I think that will transform it completely, because this would mean that you would have to be able, that could be difficult to be a branded last mile company if it's just agents that automatically finds out, I want to have this shirt delivered, it should be delivered Friday afternoon, I won't pay more than X, and the agent handles that, and they don't care whether it's a Royal Mail or Every or a GLS or whoever it is, it doesn't care. So you would lose that connection with the end customer and the branding possibility. And I think that's something that the logistics industry hasn't solved yet about how to do this. And it's brand new. And I think they'll have to do that in the next 6 to 12 months. So they have to hurry. If not, they'll be overtaken by those that do that. So that's our in the logistics industry. And I think in our industry, I think it's much more about how do we make sure that the agentic intelligence is not just something that's just another layer that doesn't make a big difference. Because I think now agentic becomes something, help me book a hotel room or find a new restaurant or do a simple task. But in principle, it could be solve many different tasks of us, and the rest of us could just rest in the couch, have a cup of coffee, send out some new directions, and that will completely transform the way we interact with as ourselves as professionals as well as individuals towards products, brands, and our workplace as well. And I think it will transform the way we work and live on a daily basis, and I think it can be good. But I also think there are some things, we need to talk about to make sure that it becomes good in the right way for most people. And that is a difficult discussion.
No, it's a very interesting thing. And, having worked in the logistics and working with the logistics sector, everyone's trying to be on the leading edge of technology, of keeping their costs down, because it's it's high volume, low margin sector, including last mile. And so everyone's trying to get to be top of the game on technology, but obviously not top of the game on cost, because you can't manage those two. So it'd be really interesting to see how that develops. The green transition that everyone's pushing for, does that affect what you do? Because I just think of the generation of data, etc. Do you have any pressures on that from customers, or do they not ask too much on that because of what you do?
Our customers don't ask so much about that, and I think it's mainly because the footprint of what we do compared to the footprint of what they do is like it's a drop in the ocean. So how many times you can drive a truck around the planet compared to running something like we do? But I think for now we are based in Denmark, and it's difficult from country to country. And also our data is typically in Frankfurt or something like that, right? But some of this in what our you can say footprint comes from the usage of electricity, and as long as that become more and more wind or solar panel driven or nuclear, whatever it is, at least those that doesn't have that CO2 impact, then it's not, then it moves in the right direction. Then I'd say that sometimes we have some interaction with some of the customers that we have in the logistics about how can they actually understand better the positioning within fossil free or green deliveries and that kind of thing. But I think compared to where we were a couple of years back, it hasn't caught the attention for real compared to what everybody would have thought, just prior to the corona crisis. Like, we would have imagined that it would have much higher attention on that agenda.
Yeah, no, it's very interesting how it works. And during your career, what development in the sector has surprised you most?
What surprised me most in that, personally, I've always been surprised about I am an analyst. I had a consulting company that did economics and statistics and data science, and I've done that for 15 years before starting up Tembi. So I think, and one of the things that always has surprised me is how risk averse companies had been, or to some extent are today, when it comes to deploying these technologies, given the fact that, this means that they run out somewhere with like blindfolded on the freeway, because that is what it is if you don't know what's happening in the market. And these technologies are available out there. The data is somehow available, a bit cumbersome to put together, but has mainly been what could you call it, the maturity and the adoption readiness from the customers or from a lot of organizations that has been a challenge. And I think that has surprised me that it has taken so long, for that to mature. On the good side of that has been that we've been building a company that hopefully is a bit of ahead on that curve.
Good. No, thank you. And I don't speak on behalf of the logistics world, but my perspective will be that, as I said earlier, it's a high volume, low margin sector. So when you invest in anything, actually, you're looking for a return on investment, and probably with technology, it can be seen as more risky. But then again, perhaps the upside can be a lot higher too. If you look, what companies like DPD did with Predict in 2009, 2010, that changed the marketplace. So, no, I think you're absolutely right. The last question we ask everyone, wherever they're based, if you could speak to the government, then what would you ask them to do to help you grow your business, grow and flourish? Yeah,
as I said, we are based in Copenhagen, and I think we have a couple of things that I would like to say. One thing, I personally don't believe that the Danish government is investing enough in what you would call developing talent in IT, the IT and technology space. Denmark is literally behind when it comes to the to the number of students enrolled and the share of funds that goes towards the technology, the computer science and that area, and that is a problem. And it's a big problem because it's a big opportunity that we will lose out on and miss out on, and also a lot of the. So for us, of course, this has an impact on the talent side. I would say, on the short term, primarily solved by the fact that we get a lot of people from coming into Denmark to work with high-skilled labor because there are good opportunities, but it's a mismatch. The other thing, and I think that's not only a Danish problem, it's more of a European problem. We tend to want to regulate things before they might happen, so a lot of regulation. And I don't say that we necessarily have to go to the US, where sometimes, like their legislative climate, that sometimes it's more like, let's just see what happens. Of course, there needs to be some soundness, and I think there's an ethical dimension around what we do that over time can become a stronghold. But for the time being, or the last many years, European politicians have made regulations for problems that haven't occurred yet, or that might occur, and where we, for instance, everybody knows about GDPR, but it's also now the AI Act. Okay, what will happen if I do this or that? Nobody knows because nobody did it yet. So you end up being the company that has the risk, ending up in a lawsuit that there's no legislative, you can say, history or tradition in that area. So it becomes difficult. And if we want to grow a tech industry in Europe and in Denmark, we have to be aware that pretty soon we are dependent on like American and Chinese companies that are much developing in this area. So as a economy, it's important. And also, also, if we talk about digital sovereignty, we can talk all about it, but if there's no services solutions out there because the business conditions are not good enough, then we will still depend on other technologies and services from other parts of the world. So I think that would be the two main things I would say to the government.
Thank you. And, all these different perspectives, a lot of them do reflect all around Europe and all around the world. So thanks for that. I just want to say a big thank you to you, Kristian, for coming on and telling us all about your business, and hope everything goes really well. I'm sure our viewers and listeners will really like it.
Thank you, David. It's been a great pleasure to talk to you today.